Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into a powerful topic: the top 10 countries that hate North Korea in 2025. North Korea's nuclear ambitions, military provocations, and defiance of international norms have earned it the disdain of many countries across the globe. But why do these nations despise North Korea? What drives their animosity? Be sure to like, subscribe, and watch till the end to understand the reasons behind these deep-rooted tensions. Let's uncover the shocking facts and emotional connections that fuel this animosity. Number 10. Poland. Poland has a long-standing opposition to North Korea, particularly due to its defiance of international law and its development of nuclear weapons. Since the early 2000s, Poland has supported UN sanctions against North Korea, participating in global efforts to isolate Pyongyang for its human rights abuses and nuclear program. Poland sees North Korea as a destabilizing force in the international community, and its military provocations, including missile tests and nuclear detonations, have led Poland to align itself with countries calling for maximum pressure on the regime. Poland also condemns North Korea's treatment of its citizens, particularly the widespread human rights violations, including forced labor camps and political repression. Emotionally, Poland views North Korea's regime as an extension of authoritarianism and tyranny, particularly given Poland's own history of fighting Soviet oppression and advocating for democracy. In 2025, Poland's support for sanctions and diplomatic isolation of North Korea remains firm, as it believes that strong international unity is the only way to bring about meaningful change in Pyongyang. North Korea's nuclear ambitions and aggressive posture only heighten Poland's concerns for global security, particularly in the context of Russia's growing influence in the region. Number 9. Germany. Germany has been one of the strongest critics of North Korea's nuclear program, aligning with the United States and other NATO allies in condemning Pyongyang's provocative actions. Germany has supported sanctions and diplomatic isolation against North Korea in the UN Security Council and has been vocal about its concerns over the regime's human rights record. Germany's foreign policy is deeply rooted in its commitment to global peace and human rights, and North Korea's actions represent everything Germany stands against. In 2017, Germany strongly condemned North Korea's nuclear tests, calling them a serious threat to global peace. Germany's economic ties with the international community are so deep that any destabilizing actions by North Korea are seen as an affront to international order. The emotional connection to this animosity stems from Germany's own history of authoritarian rule and totalitarian regimes. North Korea's human rights abuses remind Germany of the dangers of unchecked power and oppression. In 2025, Germany continues to back international diplomatic efforts to hold North Korea accountable, seeing peaceful denuclearization as the key to regional stability. North Korea's aggressive stance only reinforces Germany's commitment to international solidarity and human rights. Number 8. France. France has long been an outspoken critic of North Korea's nuclear ambitions and its violations of international law. As a permanent member of the UN Security Council, France has consistently supported sanctions aimed at North Korea, including restrictions on trade and military exports. France's opposition to North Korea's actions is driven by its belief in multilateral diplomacy and non-proliferation, as well as its strong commitment to global security. In 2017, after North Korea conducted its most powerful nuclear test, France joined other Western powers in calling for stronger measures to curb Pyongyang's actions. The French government has condemned North Korea's missile launches, which are seen as direct threats to global peace and stability. Emotionally, France views North Korea's regime as a reminder of totalitarianism and authoritarian rule, a stark contrast to France's values of freedom, democracy, and human rights. The country's support for global disarmament is at odds with North Korea's nuclear escalation, leading France to continue its stance of opposition. France's commitment to peaceful diplomacy drives its efforts to encourage negotiation with North Korea, although the country remains skeptical of Pyongyang's willingness to engage in good faith talks. Number 7. Philippines. The Philippines views North Korea with a great deal of suspicion and disdain, primarily due to its role in regional instability and its growing nuclear threat. As a member of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the Philippines has consistently supported UN sanctions and participated in multilateral efforts to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons. The Philippines has expressed concern over the possibility of North Korean missiles being launched in the direction of Southeast Asia, given the proximity of the Korean Peninsula to the Philippines. The emotional response from the Philippines is also rooted in national security concerns, as North Korea's aggressive military posturing threatens regional peace. The Philippines has long been a strategic ally of the United States, and its support for U.S.-led efforts to contain North Korea's weapons program aligns with its broader security interests. In 2025, the Philippines remains committed to diplomatic pressure and sanctions as the primary means to curb North Korea's actions. While the Philippines has advocated for a peaceful resolution, its government believes that strong international unity is needed to prevent Pyongyang from further destabilizing the region. North Korea's nuclear capabilities continue to haunt the Philippines as the country is increasingly drawn into global discussions about denuclearization. Number 6, Australia. Australia has been one of the most vocal critics of North Korea's nuclear program and its disregard for international norms. Australia views North Korea's missile tests, including those that fly over Japanese territory, as a direct threat to its national security. Australia's commitment to regional stability in the Asia-Pacific has led it to support all UN sanctions aimed at containing North Korea, including trade restrictions and measures targeting the regime's military capabilities. In 2017, Australia was quick to align with the United States in calling for stronger actions against Pyongyang after its series of nuclear tests. The Australian government has supported military deployments in the region and has been a part of multilateral military exercises designed to deter North Korean aggression. Emotionally, Australia's stance against North Korea is driven by a desire to protect its peaceful way of life and support its allies, especially South Korea and Japan, who face direct threats from North Korea. Australia's military capabilities, though not as large as some superpowers, are part of a broader defense alliance with the US, and it sees itself as a key player in maintaining security in the Asia-Pacific region. In 2025, Australia remains unwavering in its support for diplomatic and economic measures against North Korea, believing that strong international cooperation is essential to avoid nuclear escalation. Number 5, Taiwan. Taiwan holds strong animosity toward North Korea due to its aggressive nuclear program and the threats it poses to regional stability, especially in East Asia. Taiwan views North Korea's growing nuclear arsenal as a potentially destabilizing force in the region, especially given Taiwan's own precarious position relative to China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory. Taiwan has long supported US-led sanctions against North Korea, viewing them as necessary to halt Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions. Taiwan has been vocal in global forums, urging the international community to apply maximum pressure on North Korea to denuclearize. Taiwan's participation in the global condemnation of North Korea's missile tests is a reflection of its commitment to regional security. Emotionally, Taiwan sees North Korea as a pariah state whose actions undermine global peace and security, further complicating the already tense situation in East Asia. Taiwan also fears that North Korea's provocations could be used by China as an excuse to escalate tensions in the region, including military action. Taiwan continues to back international measures to prevent nuclear proliferation and has been a consistent ally of U.S. policy in the region, driven by the shared goal of maintaining peace and preventing further conflict. Number 4, United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has been one of the strongest supporters of U.S. policies against North Korea, particularly in regard to denuclearization and sanctions enforcement. As a permanent member of the UN Security Council, the UK has consistently backed sanctions against North Korea. Joining the US and its allies in condemning Pyongyang's nuclear tests and missile launches, the UK sees North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons as a direct threat to global security, not just to its own interests, but to international norms surrounding nuclear non-proliferation. The UK's emotional connection to this issue stems from its commitment to global peace and stability, particularly in Europe and Asia. The UK's involvement in the Five Eyes intelligence network also provides it with deep insight into North Korea's military capabilities, reinforcing its stance that North Korea's actions cannot be ignored. In 2025, the UK continues to pressure North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapons program, supporting both sanctions and diplomatic initiatives. The UK's unwavering position on North Korea is fueled by its commitment to global norms and the security of its allies, including South Korea and Japan. The UK remains a key player in international efforts to prevent nuclear escalation and to limit North Korea's influence. Number 3, Japan. Japan views North Korea as one of the most serious threats to its national security, given its proximity to the Korean Peninsula and the numerous missile tests conducted by North Korea over the years. Japan has been one of the most vocal critics of Pyongyang's nuclear weapons development and its aggressive stance toward its neighbors. Japan's military posture has become more proactive in response to North Korea's provocations, and it has participated in US-led security initiatives aimed at countering North Korea's missile and nuclear threats. In 2017, North Korea launched a missile that flew over Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost island, further escalating tensions. This incident, among others, led Japan to increase defense spending and bolster its missile defense systems. Emotionally, Japan sees North Korea's nuclear ambitions as a direct threat to its sovereignty and the security of its citizens. Japan's commitment to international sanctions and UN resolutions on North Korea reflects its belief that diplomacy and pressure are the only viable solutions to stop Pyongyang's nuclear program. In 2025, Japan remains a staunch ally of the United States and other regional powers in the fight against North Korean aggression, deeply concerned about the potential for future conflict. Number 2, South Korea. South Korea is North Korea's most immediate adversary and the country most directly affected by North Korea's military provocations. As a divided nation that remains technically at war with the North, South Korea has been the victim of numerous missile tests and border provocations from North Korea. The South Korean government has long seen North Korea as an existential threat, particularly due to its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile capability. South Korea has aligned itself with U.S. policy on North Korea, particularly regarding sanctions and military deterrence. The South Korean military works closely with U.S. forces stationed in South Korea, conducting joint exercises and preparing for potential conflict. Emotionally, for South Koreans, the specter of war and nuclear escalation looms large, given the proximity of North Korea's capital, Pyongyang, to Seoul. South Korea's desire for peaceful reunification with North Korea remains, but Pyongyang's ongoing provocations make this goal seem increasingly impossible. In 2025, South Korea's policy remains focused on defensive readiness while also supporting international efforts to pressurize North Korea to abandon its nuclear program. For South Koreans, the threat from North Korea remains an ever-present danger with profound emotional and national implications. Number 1, United States. The United States has been the most vocal opponent of North Korea for decades, particularly due to Pyongyang's nuclear weapons program and its threats to regional security. The U.S. views North Korea as a direct threat to its national security and the stability of the Asia-Pacific region. As the global leader in military power, the U.S. has maintained a strong military presence in South Korea and Japan, which serves as a countermeasure to North Korea's growing nuclear and missile capabilities. The emotional connection for the U.S. is rooted in its global responsibility to maintain peace and prevent nuclear proliferation. In 2025, the U.S. continues to lead sanctions efforts and diplomatic isolation campaigns against North Korea, aiming to force Pyongyang to give up its nuclear weapons. The U.S. has long accused North Korea of being a rogue state, citing its frequent human rights abuses, provocative missile tests, and the threat of nuclear war. The U.S. also sees North Korea as a tool of Chinese influence, given China's economic ties to Pyongyang. This dynamic makes the North Korean regime an even more dangerous adversary for U.S. interests. The U.S. remains committed to denuclearization and regional peace, and North Korea's provocations continue to fuel the animosity between the two nations. These countries have deep-rooted animosity toward North Korea due to its nuclear weapons program, provocative actions, and human rights violations. Their stance is driven by the need to maintain regional peace, security, and international norms. Like, comment, and subscribe for more insights into global conflicts. See you next time.